Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a simple truth. There is no excuse for not trying. We live in a world where comfort is easy, where distractions are many, where fear of failure often shouts louder than the quiet courage it takes to begin. But let me tell you something: no one ever built anything meaningful by staying in their comfort zone. Trying is not about being perfect. It's not even about succeeding on the first attempt. Trying is about taking the first step even when the path is unclear. It's about showing up again and again, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need the perfect plan. What you need is the willingness to act. Because action is how progress happens. Every great innovation, every inspiring leader, every movement that changed the world, they all began with someone who tried. Someone who didn't wait until they were ready. Someone who didn't say, "What if I fail?" but instead asked, "What if I never try?" We often convince ourselves that we can't begin until everything is just right, that we need more time, more experience, or more confidence. We fall into the trap of believing that perfection is a prerequisite for progress. But here's the truth. If you wait for the perfect moment, you'll never start, because perfection isn't a moment. It's a myth. The act of trying even when we're unsure, even when we feel unprepared, is infinitely more valuable than waiting for perfect conditions. Trying means you're in the game. It means you're taking steps, however small, towards something greater. You're choosing movement over stagnation. That choice alone puts you ahead of so many people who are still waiting, still overthinking, still doubting. We live in a world that glorifies results. We celebrate the winners, the finished products, the polished performances. But what we don't see, what we often forget, is the messy, imperfect beginning that came before all that. Every successful person you admire once stood where you are now, uncertain, nervous, and imperfect. They didn't succeed because they were flawless. They succeeded because they tried, they learned, and they kept going. The problem with chasing perfection is that it's paralyzing. It convinces us that we're not enough, not ready, not skilled, not worthy. It tricks us into believing that any attempt short of ideal is a waste of time. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Every attempt, even the ones that fall short, teaches us something. Trying gives us real-world feedback. It sharpens our instincts. It builds resilience. You can't grow from the sidelines. You grow by being in motion, by failing forward, by embracing the imperfect process of becoming better. Trying also signals something powerful to yourself and to others: that you care, that you're willing to take a risk, that you believe in the possibility of more. And that belief, that energy, has a ripple effect. It inspires, it uplifts, it opens doors. No one is moved by perfection. They're moved by effort, by authenticity, by the courage it takes to try when you don't know what will happen next. And make no mistake, trying doesn't mean reckless action or ignoring preparation. It means taking action despite not having everything figured out. It means being okay with the unknown and trusting yourself enough to figure things out along the way. Growth lives in that space, in the trying, the adjusting, the evolving. Sometimes the most important decision you'll ever make is simply to begin. To write the first sentence, make the first call, show up for the first day. Because when you try, you gain momentum. And with momentum, perfection becomes less important than persistence. So let go of the idea that you need to be perfect to matter. Let go of the need to impress, and instead, commit to showing up fully, honestly, and imperfectly. That's where real change begins. That's where dreams start becoming real. In the end, no one remembers how flawless you were. They remember that you tried, that you stepped up, that you cared enough to begin when so many others didn't. And that choice to try might just be the most powerful thing you ever do. Progress doesn't come from ideas alone. It doesn't come from endless planning or talking about what could be. Progress comes from action, from movement, from doing something even if it's small, even if it's messy. You can dream all day, make lists, draw up roadmaps, and wait for the stars to align. But until you act, nothing changes. The most powerful force behind progress is not knowledge. It's not talent, it's action. Because action transforms intention into reality. It turns thoughts into results. You don't need to know everything to get started. You just need to begin. The rest will reveal itself through the process. Often we overestimate what it takes to move forward. We think we need a breakthrough, a bold leap, or some grand gesture. But real progress is usually the result of consistent, simple steps, one step after another. One choice at a time. Even the smallest action, sending an email, writing a paragraph, making a phone call, creates motion. And once you're in motion, it's easier to keep going. Action builds momentum, and momentum creates confidence. There's a reason so many great ideas never see the light of day. It's not because they weren't good enough. It's because someone hesitated, they waited, they doubted themselves. Maybe they were afraid of getting it wrong. Maybe they were afraid of what others would think. But the people who actually make a difference are the ones who do something. They take the risk, they start, even when they're unsure. They understand that progress is never perfect, it's just progress. Action is also how we learn. You can study something for years and still not understand it the way you do after trying it once. You can plan a conversation in your head 1,000 times, but nothing teaches you more than having the real one. Taking action gives you clarity. It shows you what works and what doesn't. It gives you data, not the kind you find in spreadsheets, but the kind that comes from experience. That's the kind of data that helps you grow. We have to stop seeing action as the final step and start seeing it as the first. It's not the reward for confidence, it's the creator of it. If you're waiting to feel completely ready before you act, you might be waiting forever. Readiness doesn't come before action, it comes because of it. Even failure, when it happens, is not the end, it's just information. When you take action and it doesn't work out the way you hoped, you're not back at square one. You're further ahead than someone who never started. You've learned something. You've discovered something you didn't know before, and that knowledge becomes fuel for your next step. Think of any person who inspires you, a leader, an artist, an athlete, an entrepreneur. At some point, they had to stop thinking and start doing. They didn't get where they are by waiting until everything was perfect. They got there by acting, failing, learning, and continuing. That's the pattern. That's how progress works. So if there's something you care about, something you want to build, change, or create, start. Don't wait for the right moment. Don't wait until you feel ready. Just do one thing. Take one action. Progress doesn't require perfection. It only requires movement, and once you're moving, everything else becomes possible. Because in the end, the people who move forward in life are not the ones with the best ideas. They're the ones who acted on the ideas they had, and that more than anything is what sparks progress. There's a common misconception that courage means being fearless, that the people who take bold steps in life, who speak up, who lead, who chase their dreams, that they do it without fear. But that's not true. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward in spite of it. Fear is natural. It shows up anytime something matters. It's the brain's way of protecting us, of warning us about risk or the unknown. But fear doesn't always tell the truth. It doesn't always distinguish between real danger and imagined failure. Sometimes fear tries to keep us small, stuck in the familiar, even when that familiarity is holding us back. And if we wait for fear to disappear, we'll stay where we are forever. Courage is what allows us to act while fear is still in the room. It's the voice that says, yes, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's standing up and speaking out even when your hands are shaking. It's trying something new even when you might fail. It's applying for the opportunity, starting the conversation, walking into the room not because you're fearless, but because what you want matters more than the fear trying to stop you. You don't have to silence fear to be brave. You just have to stop letting it drive your decisions. Bravery doesn't always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just showing up when you'd rather run away. Sometimes it's saying, I don't know how this will go, but I'm not going to let that stop me. That's what real courage looks like. The people we admire for their strength, their boldness, their success, they feel fear too. The difference is, they've learned to move with it. They've learned that fear is a companion on the road to anything worthwhile. And more importantly, they've learned not to give it power. They act, they try. They put themselves out there, not because they're immune to doubt, but because they believe something bigger is possible. Here's the beautiful part. When you choose courage once, it becomes easier to choose it again. Each act of bravery builds your confidence. It teaches you that fear doesn't break you, that discomfort is survivable, that growth often begins the moment you stop playing it safe, and over time, your comfort zone expands. Not because the fear went away, but because you've learned how to carry it and keep going. Choosing courage over comfort is one of the most powerful choices you can make. It's how dreams begin. It's how change happens. It's how people rise into their full potential. Fear might always be there, whispering its doubts, raising questions, urging hesitation. But you get to choose what you listen to. You get to choose whether fear holds you back or whether it becomes the background noise to your bravery. So don't wait until you're fearless. You don't need to be. Just be brave enough to try. Just be willing to step forward while your heart pounds and your voice trembles. That's what makes you strong. That's what sets things in motion. And when you act in the presence of fear, something amazing happens. You prove to yourself that you're more capable than you thought. You show others what's possible. You make fear just a footnote in your story, not the author of it. Because courage was never about not feeling scared. It's about deciding that something else, hope, growth, purpose, is worth more. We often want growth to feel comfortable. We imagine it as something that happens naturally, almost passively, as if simply wanting to become better will make it so. But real growth, the kind that changes you, strengthens you, and moves your life forward, doesn't come from comfort. It comes from effort. Effort is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's the thing that turns potential into progress. Without effort, all the talent, ambition, and good intentions in the world won't amount to much. You don't become stronger by thinking about going to the gym. You become stronger by showing up, sweating, failing, and coming back again. Life works the same way. Every time you truly try, you're pushing your limits. You're doing something your past self wasn't ready for, and that's growth. It might not look impressive from the outside. It might feel slow or uncertain. But the effort you put in today, even if no one sees it, is shaping the person you're becoming. The mistake many people make is assuming that if something doesn't come easily, it must not be meant for them. But that's not how growth works. Growth isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to stretch you, to challenge you, to show you what you're made of. That's the point. Every mistake, every setback, every "I don't think I can do this" moment, those are all signs you're growing. You don't experience that kind of friction when you're standing still. And yes, effort is tiring. It takes energy, patience, and resilience. Sometimes it feels like you're pouring yourself into something with no clear reward in sight. But effort is never wasted. Even if you don't see immediate results, the act of showing up and trying again is rewiring you. It's teaching you discipline. It's building your focus. It's creating a version of you that doesn't give up just because it's hard. What's amazing about effort is that it compounds. The little things you do, the habits you build, the risks you take, the times you show up when it would have been easier to walk away, they stack up. You may not notice it day to day, but over time, that consistent effort adds up to real transformation. You don't wake up one day and become great at something. You earn it one effort at a time. Effort also builds confidence, not in a loud, boastful way, but in a quiet inner belief that says, "I've done the work. I can handle this." That kind of confidence isn't shaken by criticism or failure because it's rooted in something real. It's rooted in knowing that you've faced resistance before and you kept going. When you look at someone who seems successful or highly skilled, don't just admire the outcome, admire the effort that got them there. Because underneath every polished result is a mountain of practice, discomfort, and persistence that no one sees. What separates those who grow from those who stay the same isn't intelligence or luck, it's effort. So, if you're working hard right now and wondering if it's worth it, keep going. If you're struggling and questioning whether the process is working, keep going. You're not just chasing a goal. You're becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more capable along the way. Because in the end, growth isn't about avoiding struggle. It's about what you choose to do when things get hard. And if you keep choosing effort, No matter how small the step, you are already growing in ways you might not even realize yet. When people look back on their lives, what they regret most isn't the times they failed. It's the chances they didn't take, the words they didn't say, the dreams they shelved because they were afraid to try. Failure might sting in the moment, but it fades. Regret lingers. It settles deep, becoming a quiet ache that whispers, "What if?" It's easy to fear failure. We all do. Nobody wants to fall short, to be judged, to feel embarrassed or disappointed. But failure, for all its discomfort, is not the enemy. In fact, failure is often the most honest teacher we'll ever have. It gives us feedback. It shows us what doesn't work so we can get closer to what does. It toughens us up and teaches us resilience. Most importantly, it proves that we were brave enough to step up and try. But inaction, that's different. Inaction is passive. It's what happens when we let fear win before we've even begun. When we silence our voice, shrink our vision, and convince ourselves it's better to stay safe than risk falling short. And the pain that comes from inaction doesn't teach us anything. It doesn't push us forward. It just leaves us wondering what could have been, who we might have become, and what we might have accomplished if we had just taken that one step. Think about it. No one lies in bed at night haunted by the memory of trying their best. They're haunted by the things they didn't do, the words left unspoken, the path not taken. The passion they let fade because they thought they weren't ready, or good enough, or because they feared it wouldn't work out. Regret is what grows in the silence of unmade choices. The truth is, you can recover from failure. You can learn from it, bounce back, start over. But you can't reclaim time lost to hesitation. You can't undo the years spent waiting for a better moment. All you can do is move forward now and refuse to make the same mistake again. Trying doesn't guarantee success. It never has. But it guarantees growth. It guarantees that you won't be stuck wondering what might have been. It gives you a story to tell, one that's honest, bold, and human. People don't connect to perfection. They connect to effort, to struggle, to someone who was brave enough to try, even when the outcome was uncertain. You don't need to leap into everything without thinking, but you do need to start. You need to stop letting fear be the author of your decisions. Stop assuming failure is the worst outcome, because it's not. The worst outcome is sitting on the sidelines of your own life, watching opportunities pass you by, while convincing yourself that maybe next time you'll be ready. Let this be the moment you decide not to let fear make your choices for you. Let this be the moment you understand that even if something doesn't work out, you'll still be okay, maybe even better than before, because you'll know you gave yourself a chance, and that alone is something to be proud of. So whatever it is you're holding back on, the conversation you keep avoiding, the idea you keep putting off, the dream you've tucked away for someday, try. Do it scared. Do it unsure. Do it imperfectly. But just do it. You might fail, but you might also fly. And even if you fall, you'll never have to live with the weight of wondering, what if I had just tried? Because you'll already know the answer. And that kind of peace is worth everything.